All right, good afternoon. This is Reginald Andre with the Miami Business Leaders, and we are coming to you live today with a very special guest, Maurice Gray from the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program. So thank you all for joining us. If you are a business leader, you're an executive, you're going to want to be able to listen to this message because we, again, special speaker Maurice Gray of the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program. And also, if you know any business leaders, this is something that you should definitely share and send to them because they're going to greatly benefit from this program, just like I did about 6 years ago. So Maurice, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity to spend some time with you and share our program with your network.
Absolutely. So we all know who Goldman Sachs is. You know, obviously we see them in the news and the finance and things like that. But tell us a little about yourself, and also tell us about what is the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program. Why was it created?
Okay, so I'll start with the creation of the program. To your point, when most people think of Goldman Sachs, they think of the investment bank. As you know, in response to COVID, Goldman Sachs has also allocated significant dollars to the Paycheck Protection Program. But about 10 years ago, Goldman Sachs began an initiative, 10,000 Small Businesses, with the goal of helping small businesses, 10,000 small businesses specifically across the United States, to grow, to go to the next level. And specifically by that, we mean increasing their revenue, and hopefully being in a position where they can create jobs in their local communities. Okay, so this initiative, contrary to some of the current initiatives, which are actually putting dollars in the hands of business owners, this initiative, which was funded by a $500 million commitment that Goldman Sachs made to help businesses across the United States, was solely focused on business education. Okay, so it was not a lending strategy or an attempt to access customers, but more so, how do we help businesses throughout the United States, with the understanding that the vast majority of businesses in the United States employ fewer than 10 people. So in order to try to make an impact, really at the ground level, Goldman Sachs, as I said, committed $500 million to deliver an educational program throughout the United States. So Miami-Dade College is one of about 22 organizations, primarily community colleges like Miami-Dade College, that deliver this curriculum. Within the structure of the program, I'm the director of outreach and recruitment. So I'm responsible for educating prospective applicants on, how we can help their businesses to go to the next level. And I've been with the program here for about 6 years, began as a business advisor, working directly with those businesses and trying to put their plan together.
Awesome, awesome. And who are some of the notable businesses that have graduated from this program in South Florida, other than Art Solvers, of course?
Yeah, I was going to start with you first. Well, it is difficult to name all of the businesses because we have over 500 graduates from our program, which began delivering our curriculum here in Miami back in February of 2014. Some of the notable graduates, many people here locally know Panther Coffee, which has a number of sites. And they're obviously, as a retail operation, they're more visible and probably better known amongst our graduates or alumni. But there are countless organizations like yourself that, kind of operate, keep Miami humming, that no one really knows they're there until you need them. So I like to think they're all notable. We've helped them to hopefully go to another level in their business. But you've given me a challenging question there.
Okay, they're all your favorites, right?
There are a lot of businesses that have gone through our program. Yeah.
Yeah, so I graduated, for the viewers and audience. I graduated from the Goldman Sachs program in about 2016. I was a cohort 3, the best cohort that's been there, and it really helped me because I was about 4 years into my business, and I didn't go to school. I didn't go to school because I always like to call it like a little MBA that I got. I didn't go to school for business. I actually went for technical. I was doing computer repair, And I thought my business was good until I came to this program. And a friend of mine told me about the program. I applied and I got in. And let me tell you, this changed my life. Those 3 months changed my life because I realized that I was working in my business and not on my business. And this is actually the first time I even heard that phrase, because when they told me part of the application process, and they told me, you're not going to be in your, you can't operate in your business for a certain amount of days because you're going to be physically in these classes. I was like, well, how's the business going to survive? If I take a sick day, it's chaos. So if I'm taking now, 2 days out of the week to do my homework and things like that, it was a lot. But I'm glad that I took the time to commit to this, because we'll talk about the modules and we'll talk about the workshops and things like that. But just being able to step out of my business and to see if my business can run without me was so valuable. So tell us about the program. What exactly, if I'm someone that is interested in this, like, what is a day like? First of all, for the students, and also as far as what are the qualifications for someone to be in this program?
Okay, and I'll touch on something you hit on, a very important point. Really, one of the as I like to call it, one of the unpublished benefits of our program is that the stepping away part, which is usually the initial objection that business owners cite. Like you said, it horrifies them to think, and it really kind of runs contrary to the entrepreneurial spirit of working, getting things done. So we recognize that. But I think also to that point, a lot of business owners come to that realization, like you do, that the world doesn't stop spinning if you step away. And actually, it becomes that kind of first baby step towards delegating, holding others accountable, and the really kind of first step of expanding your enterprise. But the way our program is structured, and I'm going to give you two different scenarios: normal circumstances and currently under COVID. Right. As you can appreciate, under COVID now, we're currently delivering a virtual curriculum with the hopes of transitioning back to in-person delivery when we can. And we haven't determined yet. Our next set of classes will begin in January. So we're kind of, watching the environment to see how things are going. Under normal circumstances, this program was designed to be an in-person educational program. So a normal week within our program, and the duration of the program when it's delivered in person is roughly 3 months, runs like 13 to 15 weeks. But a normal week is, we usually meet on average 1 day per week for a full day on a Friday. Okay, so that's that apprehension you had about being away on Fridays. You got to do payroll, you got to do all that stuff, close out the week. So a typical day would be, we say a full day from 8:30 to 5:30. But really it's kind of 8 to 5. Usually the scholars arrive, as we call the business owners, once you accept into our program, with it being an educational program, you're a scholar. So they usually arrive between 8 and 8:30. We provide breakfast. You could talk about the breakfast, Reggie. And
I will.
We provide breakfast. It's not a little box thing. It's a hot breakfast between 8 and 8:30. And then at 8:30, we start our curriculum, whatever module we're on. And then we'll go a little bit deeper into the various modules or subject matters that we cover. But at 8:30, we start our curriculum. We usually will proceed until about 10:15 sharp. Reggie can attest to that. Then we'll have a break. Then we'll resume at 10:30, resume the rest of the learning until noon. Then we'll have an hour break for lunch. We provide lunch, hot lunch, and we resume our curriculum at 1 p.m. or so. We'll do some learning. Then we'll have afternoon snack at 2:30 and a break, and then we'll resume the remainder of the day till about 5:30. And I highlight those breaks in our commitment to staying on schedule, because it's important to us that our scholars are engaged when they're in the classroom. So they know that at 10:15, they'll be able to go check in at the office. And so they don't have to be, kind of engaged in the multitasking of keeping an eye on what's going on at the shop, as well as the task of growing their business while they're in the classroom. So that's a typical day. And I think despite the initial objection that a lot of prospective applicants cite around stepping away from their businesses, many of them, like you, Reggie, I think in short order say, I've kind of restructured how I'm going to do things. And I've told my staff that Friday's going to be my day. And now I see the importance of stepping away and planning as opposed to just doing all the time. Okay, so that's a typical day, a typical week. We do over the course of the 13 or 3-month process, there are a couple intermittent Wednesdays where we would have what we call a clinic, which is a 3-hour shortened class session. I think, Reggie, when you went through our program, our clinics were typically held from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Yeah.
And what we've done now is we've shifted that to during the day. So the latter part of the day, just so it doesn't turn into such a long day for the participants. But that's the typical structure of the program. We find that once people aren't engaged in it, like anything else you put on your schedule, you start to move things around it and you get in a rhythm of being here.
Yeah, and even though we're joking on the breakfast, but that actually shows you that this is the gold bar that the Goldman Sachs that you're used to. They're putting that in this program. It's not a rinky dink, just like here's a workbook and just go through the process. I mean, it starts with the breakfast, and like you said, it's well catered breakfast to get you started, well catered lunch to get you started, and everything that this program did for me was first class. Like no corners were cut. Everything was done first class, and which is why I absolutely love this program. So Maurice, one of the things too that I wanted to talk about was that the 80-20 rule. That was also the first time that I learned about the 80-20 rule. Yeah. And for those of you that don't know, it's that 80% of your business comes from 20% of your clients. And when we were doing one of the finance modules, what we did was the exercise was, okay, how many hours a week do you work? How much do you pay yourself? And then divide that number. And I still remember that today because at that time, again, I was 4 years into my business and I was working some crazy hours and I was hardly paying myself. And when you did that math, I was getting paid lower than minimum wage.
Yeah.
and our group, so I think each class is roughly about 24 people. Is that still the case?
And the number of scholars in the program for any cohort, it ranges because we don't set an arbitrary ceiling or an arbitrary floor. We accept applications and we screen those based on fit. But on average, it usually runs anywhere from about 25 to 35.
Okay, yeah. So ours was about, I think, 24, 25. And I remember more than half of the people in this exercise that we did about what is your hourly rate, all realized that they were working less than a minimum wage because the amount of money that they were paying themselves on a weekly basis. And some of them, like at that time, I was working, no lie, 80 to 90 hours.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah.
And that really helped me realize, like, okay, is this, am I the entrepreneur or is this just like a low paying job? Yeah. And it opened so many things like that. And we had people in our classrooms, and Maurice, if you can talk about the requirements, but I think at that time, my revenue was a little over 250,000. And I know we had some bigger people in the millions. And so it's not, so this program is not if you're just getting started. And this program is not, if you're, you have several employees. So if you want to talk about as far as those requirements and how it's so diverse, because you always want to be in a room with someone smarter than you, someone bigger than you. So if you want to talk about that for a moment.
Yeah. Well, and I'll give you a juxtaposition once again of under normal circumstances in our COVID environment. Our original criteria to be considered for the program were businesses with 2 years in business, a minimum of 4 employees, including the owner, and $150,000 in annual revenue for your past year, for your previous year. Obviously, with the impact of COVID and the desire by Goldman Sachs to avail this program to a larger pool of businesses, they've lowered some of the criteria. Okay. So specifically, time in business is still 2 years. A number of employees, including the owner, is 2. And the revenue requirement is now $100,000.
Oh, wow. Okay.
As an entry point. But to your point, you make an excellent point in terms of the range or breadth of businesses that are in the program, ranging, inclusive of maturity, business maturity, as well as revenues. Just to give some insight, we had a cohort, I think going back to the end of last year, there were about 35 business owners, and their average time in business was 14 years, and their average revenues were 1.3 million. Okay. So to your point, this program is not just designed for someone right out of the gate. As you can appreciate, as a business owner, your business goes through many iterations. And you, as a business owner, you should always be saying, so what's next? You know, once you kind of plateau and get to twiddling your thumbs, you see that you're not working as many hours as you did. So you say, what's next? I don't feel like I'm busy enough. So this program, in addition to pointing business owners to kind of a short-term goal or opportunity to grow their business, you also come away with a tool that you can use in that, hey, I have a new idea. How do I move that from idea to implementation? Okay, that's obviously where the rubber meets the road. There are a lot of people that get that thought bubble, as I like to call it, but by the time you drive from your office to home and your dog runs up on you when you get home, you've forgotten about materializing this new opportunity. Okay, so that's what this program also does, is give you a venue or a safe space, if you will, amongst other business owners to work on your business. Okay, so despite those, as you said, those minimum requirements to get in, this program commonly, we've had a business here that participated in our program, multi-generational business, at 48 years in business. So, and I think if I recall your experience here, there was another business that was from your same industry. They did computer network support, but they were much more mature than your business. And I remember you used to have a lot of engaging conversations with that gentleman. He seemed all too happy to help you, to go from your stage of maturity to, so how do I transition into larger accounts and things like that. So that's also one of the other unpublished benefits, is that, once you get into this program and people get to understand your business and try to understand your business, in asking questions, it generates ideas. And it's very common, I'm sure, as you remember, somebody said, oh man, my table mate just gave me a great idea for my business, something I'm not doing. So there are a number of dynamic things that happen that really go well beyond the structured curriculum of the program.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I actually remember, as I mentioned, we were doing X revenue. And at that time, I was still doing residential computer repair work. And I remember talking with, it was actually after class, just to show you the commitment of everyone. It was after class. It was John Hall. It was Alex, who had the IT company. And I believe it was Shuli, but I can't remember the third person. And we basically we spent like an hour outside of Miami-Dade College talking about the problem and the dilemma I had. And that was, would I pivot my business? Because at that time I had about $300,000 in sales, but it was a lot of residential work. But it was work that was that was good. It was good money. But the writing was also on the wall, which is what actually one of the modules about, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I realized that, and I still have that little index card, by the way. I looked it up the other day.
Your exit strategy.
The exit strategy. And where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in your business in 5 years? With technology, things are always changing. And what I realize is, if I stayed doing residential computer repair, the writing was on the wall that day that basically the business would close, because that industry, the need for that was going away. And the program helped me pivot and say, you know what, how do you now slowly start to let go of this, your bread and butter and go after new clients?
Right.
And we came up with a little strategy on a paper napkin, and we did it, and it worked. It worked. So I mean, this program really, really worked. So I love those little things, and the camaraderie. We still keep in touch. We have like our Facebook group, we have a WhatsApp group. So there's just so much things that that it's just not going in, taking a class, and then see you later. I really, really appreciated that.
And I think you have to tell people that you eventually put together a more extensive plan than the back of a napkin.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. But a lot of great ideas start there, right?
That's right. But that takes I think it requires a little more clarification, because that goes into, well, how do you help businesses do this? Okay, so we talked about, well, let me take a step back and talk about the modules. Sure. We kind of talked about a typical day, but each of those days is a focus on a different subject matter. So we start off, we have an orientation module, and then a little more in depth about scope of the program. And then, but very early on in the program, probably in the second or third week, we have a discussion about opportunities. I'm sure you recall those exercises. We try to get you to stretch and see your business from different perspectives and angles and possibilities. And from that, get each of the respective scholars to say, okay, I think, as most entrepreneurs, you initially get that gut feel, hey, I think I can do this. I think I can get these and make some money on that. But the program goal is to then take that one opportunity and then align the rest of your business with that objective. So very quickly after coming up with a bright idea, we try to move the scholars into more concrete analysis. So, well, if you think it's a good idea, let's put some numbers on paper. We're going to help you prepare projections. So you can see, if you want to hit revenue target X, well, how many customers do you need to get? Okay, well, how do you reach those customers? So we start going into the marketing, okay? But essentially, our modules or subject matters that we cover in this program are financial statements analysis. So that's where we'll be doing the projections, getting you more comfortable with, for a lot of people, the financials that you look at during tax time only. Then we move into leadership, okay? So how are you going to get the rest of your organization aligned from a mission and vision standpoint, so your employees are showing up with a sense of gusto beyond just getting a paycheck, right? Okay, helping you grow this enterprise. Then we talk about human resources. As you thought about transitioning from residential service into commercial, then you say, okay, that's a different skill set possibly. Maybe I need to bring on someone else who can help me to go in that direction. So we map that out. Then we talk about marketing and selling. Okay, so like I said, this is your new target. How do you transition your business from communicating with residential customers previously to now I need to find out a way to communicate and attract the attention of commercial clients? Okay, and then we look at operations and processes, finance. So after you get to the end of this journey, you've come up with a great idea. Do you have enough capital to fuel it? So we have discussions about various sources of capital depending on where your business is from a maturity and credit worthiness standpoint. And then all of those great things, you can't fit all that on the back of a napkin anyway.
Right.
So you create a growth plan. So each scholar leaves with a document where they have been engaged in a series of exercises and answering questions that leads to the creation of this document that says, here's what I'm going to do in my marketing area. Here's what I need to do with regards to my human resources. Here's what I need to do in terms of operations to shift me to this area. So you have a plan that should guide you, like I say, towards this immediate opportunity, but also a tool that you can use to further iterate as your business matures.
Yeah, and you were hitting on so much nuggets, and I was getting so much flashbacks about operations and finances. So just so you guys know, when and I don't know if you noticed, Maurice, but when I did the program, I had no idea about, it was a financial module. And it was the three things that you needed to know about your finances. And it was your balance sheet, accounts payable, accounts receivable. And I had no idea what a balance sheet was. And in this program was a finance professor, I forgot, Stan, I think it was.
Stan Mandel.
Yeah, Stan, yeah. And he broke it down. He broke it down. We actually had to bring in, bring in our laptops or bring in, printouts, and we dug into it. And there was workshops on that. And I remember when I was going through my papers, I realized I got to fire my accountant. My books are all messed up. And then I end up working with one of the people that was actually one of the classmates. So it was awesome. And then I recall with the legal clinic, you guys have something where they're not giving attorney advice per se, but they will kind of steer you kind of like just hey, and I remember the attorney that I met with. So essentially, Goldman Sachs will bring top lawyers into this class. They're talking about how you should have your business structured, do's and don'ts and things like that. And again, it wasn't legal advice, but they are lawyers and they were talking. And then from there, they would have these workshops where you can then work one-on-one and ask questions, and they would just give you general advice. And I wanted to know, how is my contract looking? And the guy says, you've definitely got to get someone to look at this for you, because it's a joke. And I'm sure that has saved me, because as a business, there's situations that happen, and now everything goes back to what does the contract say. And if it wasn't for that attorney, and if it wasn't for the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program, I would have been in a lot of trouble for this, because I didn't have the proper paperwork. So I'm so happy for that opportunity to meet with that gentleman that was able to guide me through that.
And I want to touch on something you said about the many nuggets in this program. And it's not by accident the subject matters that have chosen to be covered in this program. And I certainly would be remiss if I didn't mention that Babson College created this curriculum specifically for small businesses to take their businesses to the next level. And for those who may not be familiar with Babson College, they are regarded as the #1 entrepreneurial education institution in the country. Okay, not known to everyone, but highly regarded, as ranked by U.S. News and World Report for about the past 20 years. So they created this curriculum very intentionally. Obviously, we do a financial statements workshop. You don't leave that, ready to take the CPA exam, but everything is designed we go deep enough to make you say, wow, I might need some help in that area.
Right.
And I need to, maybe the answers come in the program, but give you enough information. I kind of use the analogy of a home repair. Something happens at your house. Kind of the first thing you have to assess is this in my wheelhouse, or do I need to call a professional? Okay. But first it's kind of acknowledging I have an issue here. And so that's part of the methodology here.
Yeah, and actually, come and think of it, I remember the negotiating. There was a negotiating module, and we within our class set, in our table, we had our prices, we had our product, and then the other person is supposed to just try to beat your price down, and you're supposed to have comebacks, because if you don't believe in your business, you can't justify why your price is what it is. Your customers are gonna either not believe in you because you don't believe in it, or they're gonna ask for discounts, and they're gonna continue asking for discounts. So that was one of my first things that I learned, because again, 2014, I didn't have a lot of business experience. I would go somewhere and tell the customer $150, and they're like, "Oh, can I do it 120?" And then I'll be like, "Yeah, okay." So and there was no, because a lot of times people are afraid of that. They're afraid of talking about prices. They're afraid of potentially losing that customer. And again, it was just so much good nuggets and good modules of how to grow your business, because if you don't know how to negotiate your business, it's not going to be well for you.
And I'm glad you hit on that, because obviously, I think when someone thinks about an educational program, negotiations is not one of those subject matters that immediately pops into mind. We're thinking about
Right.
finance, marketing, all those things we typically see in kind of business help environments. But to your point, we feel that negotiations it permeates your business, whether you're talking to a vendor of yours about, hey, why am I paying you this price? Or you're talking to one of your customers and trying to hold steady on what you want to charge them, or you're negotiating with a potential employee about that you're looking to bring on board. All of those things are negotiations. And you hit on another point just in terms of how you talk about your business. And I think, and you can probably attest to whatever level of comfort you may have come to in terms of here's how I frame my business. Throughout the program, you're always challenged to, say it efficiently, effective, and compellingly.
Right.
It's few words, but concise and thorough. And we certainly believe that, it's not long into any conversation when someone says, so what do you do? And your ability to articulate that, like I said, in a concise but thorough manner, can avail you to new customers or business partnerships. I wanted to hit on something you said before about that you now are a customer of someone you went through the program with, or you use their services.
Yes.
And I would imagine you two, as a computer support, you've probably gotten some residual business from people that you met during the program, or they see you as a trusted advisor, with, no ulterior motive to give them candid advice. So that's kind of one of the other unpublished benefits, that if you're like me, you hate to call someone for goods or services that you're unfamiliar with. Okay, kind of going back to that word of mouth. So within this program, you're actually in the classroom with 25 to 35 people who obviously exponentially know more people. So it really creates a network where you can make one call, you trust this guy, and he turns you on to someone he trusts. And there are a lot of ancillary benefits that come out of this program.
Absolutely. I mean, even 6 years later, I'm on Facebook, or a friend calls me that says, I need a marketing company. Who am I? Who do I give them? I give them one of my alumni, and not even cohort 3, because we're going to be talking about alumni and things like that. But there's so many people I learned, which I do want to talk about that as well.
Okay.
And then, someone says, who does your website? Well, there was 2 people in my cohort, Sebastian and Edisola, that does websites, and still today I'm still giving them business. So it's the networking that you get from that is priceless. Is like absolutely priceless, because you are with serious people that have, because we're going to talk about the application process as well, but they're proven that they have a real business, and in your room with like some top people. So definitely.
Yeah.
So let me ask you another question, Maurice. We talked about we talked about several of the modules, but I'd like to talk for you to talk about the being bankable one, because especially now with COVID, and maybe people are looking, either PPP loans, grant loans, whatever the case is, and it's so important to have your books right, but it's also important to be able to present and show off your business. So can you talk about that particular module? Because I think that would really benefit a lot of people today.
Right. And within the being bankable, and you may recall, it's a pretty wide-ranging discussion. I think within that we talk about the value of your business. How do you value if you were looking to sell your business? But a large part of the discussion that day is around accessing capital. So it comes towards the end of our program, where the scholars have had an opportunity to put the majority of their plan together, where they probably have already identified, well, I'm probably going to need to hire a new person, or I'm going to need to build up my inventory. So they're at the point where capital is an issue. So really the discussion there is understanding, like as we highlighted within our program, we have a pretty broad range of business maturity, financial capacity. Okay. So we talk across that spectrum of capital options. So for a very young business, or a relatively immature business that may not have borrowed money before, had access to seeking capital, we talk about microloans, alternative lenders, such as CDFIs, who are specifically around to help disadvantaged borrowers of some type. We talk about traditional banks. We also have individuals that come and speak about venture capital. Okay, for, like I said, we've had large businesses that were, just to give people an idea, what does a venture capitalist look for? What type of projects or things are they interested in funding? But to really, like I said, provide a broad perspective of, if I need money, where can I go? Okay, and kind of really the overall message is there's a market kind of for every juncture. Okay. If you're not bankable yet, there are lenders for that. With the goal of, as I said, helping to move you towards executing your growth plan. And while we're talking about that, I want to just go back to what I said before about Goldman Sachs committing $500 million towards the execution of this program nationally. And that was their initial commitment. And part of the initial commitment, there was essentially $300 million for program delivery across the country. And then there was another $200 million that was set aside for capital needs. Okay. And specifically, that money was allocated towards community development financial institutions, CDFIs, and these are organizations, as I said, that are specifically set up to provide funding to organizations that can't get traditional funding. So you may not have enough years in business, or your business may be collateral deficient, outside of the appetite of a traditional bank, or the owner may have some credit blemishes, like I said, outside of the appetite of a traditional bank. So Goldman Sachs set this money aside, essentially with the notion that if you cannot secure funding from a traditional lender, then we have relationships with organizations that can help you. Okay. And so it really was a secondary alternative. And as I said, really not the primary focus of Goldman Sachs to try to, to earn business from this program.
Yeah, and I like that you said that, because that, a lot of times, okay, someone is, or a company, corporation is going to grant $500 million into the communities.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're going to want the email list. They're going to want the phone numbers.
Yeah.
No one from Goldman Sachs has ever called me to say, hey, how was that Goldman Sachs program? By the way, when you had turned in your homework assignment, we noticed that you had about, $30,000 in the bank, and how would you like to invest that today?
Yeah.
Like, none of that. There was no the word.
Yeah.
There was no motive that was to try to get small business like a list or so, say, and then go after them. So I really appreciate that.
Yes.
And that just shows the transparency of this program, that it's really to try to help the community and give back. And that's it. They didn't want anything else after that.
Yes. And we'd be remiss if we did not say that as a result of the $500 million commitment, if you're accepted into this program, there's no cost.
Well,
I hope I didn't steal your thunder.
No, you didn't steal the thunder, but you did answer. Jesse actually was here asking. He actually said, okay, so how much does this cost? Was his question.
Yeah, there is absolutely no cost other than, and I won't say no cost because you would have to travel here to Miami-Dade College. So gas, but we provide lunch. And speaking of travel, we typically have participants from throughout the Tri-County area here in South Florida, inclusive of Miami-Dade County and the other counties moving northward, Broward County and Palm Beach County. Mm-hmm. And you may not know, Reggie, because the Bright Line high-speed train preceded your participation in the program. Mm-hmm. But we now have a number of participants from those northern reaches, like I said, those northern counties that now don't have to brave I-95,
right?
In a potentially 2-hour drive to get into Miami. They can take the high-speed train. So, but there's absolutely no cost. There's no quid pro quo. I'm sure there's some people who've shown up on the first day and they've been waiting to get hit with that surprise.
Right. Yeah.
But there's no cost. And I often tell people too, we do some statistical tracking in the program. And from that, nationally, this program has a 99% graduation rate.
Wow.
Okay, 99%. And I always like to tie that to the no cost, because it's pretty much a no-brainer. If you put, $5,000 into a training program, more than likely you're going to stay in that because you've established a financial commitment. Mm-hmm. But to me, there's a significance around that 99% graduation rate relative to the fact that people don't pay anything to be in this program. And we can assume that no one likes to waste their time. Okay, we talked about the overcoming the apprehension of stepping away from your business. So to me, that shows that businesses come into this program, and I was talking about the first day when they show up. I'm sure that we've had scholars in this program who showed up on the first day and they weren't sold. They showed up with, okay, this better be good. Mm-hmm. And the fact that they stay in the program, I believe, demonstrates that very early on, they identify that there's something in this program for them. To your point, there's so many businesses that have gone through this program who, by most measurements, they could be deemed as experts in their respective fields.
Yeah.
Okay. We've had CPAs go through this program who I'm sure were very capable of teaching the financial metrics portion of our program, but having a business, they need to market their business. Okay. They need to come out of their CPA shell. And I know I'm stereotyping all CPAs, but you realize it's not just about me doing people's tax returns. I need to learn. I got to get out there and market my business. So, we've had attorneys, some of whom have participated as consultants during the legal part of our program, and subsequent, not in their own session, but in a subsequent session. So experts by their own right, but they too are business owners. Okay. And they may not be as comfortable with the financials. Okay. So I think I look at it like a buffet, that there's something here where most business owners, they had that drawer of apprehension or lack of comfort where they store things that I'd rather deal with that later. Okay. Which, as you can appreciate, just like you talked about the legal thing, which could have come back to bite you if it wasn't addressed in a timely manner, So those are just some of the other, like I said, things I highlight, kind of unpublished benefits or things that a lot of people don't know about the program.
Yeah, and that the no cost was what first got me, because I was literally living business paycheck to paycheck, and there was no way. And I've actually since then have taken many coaching classes and one-on-one coaching, because I always believe in continuing to grow. But I will still say that the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program by far was the most valuable. And I was like, I remember after I graduated, and a lot of my team members, classmates, were all like, oh my gosh, we're not going to see each other anymore. And of course we did, we kept on in contact, but we actually was like, I for one, I remember I went to John and a few other people, was like, can I pay to take this again? Because I realized that there was sometimes, to be 100% transparent, I didn't take that particular module or that class, or there was a fire at work and I didn't get a chance to take the full value. And I really wanted to come back. And I was like, I'll pay to come back. Yeah. So yes, it was definitely appreciative with Goldman Sachs that there is no cost, that it is in a sense a grant in that case. And we really appreciate it. So let me ask you a question. Oh, one more thing about the no cost. The investment is your time.
Right.
That's the biggest thing. And,
your attention.
Exactly. So it's Goldman Sachs 10,000 small business. So that means that their goal is 10,000. So what is like the public number that you can, like, what number are they at now? How much?
Yeah, and the most recent number that I've heard is 9,800. Somewhere around there. Wow. And as you can appreciate, it's from our vantage point, we don't know how many. And this number is added to, every 3 months with 30 people from Miami,
right?
With 25 people from Philadelphia, with another 23 from Cleveland. So that number is always gradually moving.
Wow!
But so they're right there. I think at that just below the 10,000 number though.
So with that, we're gonna now talk about how people can apply for this, because if that means you got about 300 seats less. There's no cost. We talked about the value of the program. Yeah. So so talk to us about that. So what are first in short, what is the qualifications like? Because we did get someone that says, do I have to be a business owner? So talk about what are the qualifications.
Right. So in addition to those modified criteria that I talked about, so current qualifications are 2 years in business, 2 employees, including the owner, and $100,000 in revenue for your last year.
And one more time, can you repeat that? 2 years in business.
2 years in business, minimum 2 employees, including the owner, and $100,000 in demonstrable revenue for your last year. Okay, and we use those as guideposts. So the next question that comes up, typically relative to revenue generation, is, well, what if I haven't reached 100? Or my tax return from last year doesn't show I made 100. Okay, we have some latitude there, and I'll give you an exact response that if you're close, we can consider you. Okay, so what would we do at this time of year? Like if you attained, I would say somewhere around $80,000 last year, and by virtue of being able to present interim financial statements for some period of this year, since we're already in October now, and you can demonstrate that your business from a revenue standpoint is on track to exceed that, then we have more latitude, to say, your running average now is somewhere around 100. Okay. So I wouldn't discourage anyone that hasn't exactly hit the number. I would say 50 would be too low. Okay. But if you're close or in around that 100 range, I would urge you to apply. Like I said, that has been a recent change with the acknowledgement that more businesses have been negatively impacted by COVID. So I would say this is your chance to strike while the iron is hot if you are below our traditional 150 mark, because the anticipation is that we are going to move back to our traditional criteria. Okay, specifically with regards to ownership, our published materials say that you should be an owner or co-owner of the business, but we have some latitude there as well. And so there are typically like 3 common scenarios that we encounter. One is spouses. Okay, so for whatever reason, one spouse may be the only owner of record as a shareholder, but the other spouse is active in the business. So as we know, if you're a spouse, you're kind of tied at the hip financially. Right. So it's a general assumption that you have a vested interest in growing the business as well. The other scenario is the multi-generational business. So business started by the parents with the likelihood or intention of passing that on to their children. Their children currently work in the business, but there's been no formal ownership agreement or a stake passed on to the children yet. And the other one is what I call like the strong general manager, where you may have an owner who's largely absentee, if you will. They may have started the business 30 years ago, and now the day-to-day operations has kind of gone to someone else who they trust, and they run the business. So we also have some latitude to consider them. So typically what we'll do, and we have accepted people who are non-owners, we'll ask for some additional information so that we have a clear understanding of what that individual's standing or level of management engagement is within the company. Okay. And we'll also ask through a series of questions that we'll ask the majority shareholder to sign off and acknowledge that this individual is applying to an educational program designed to create growth strategies for your business. And are you open and receptive to that? Okay, because with the overarching objective of our program to help businesses to grow, just think what a shame it is if you have someone who goes through the program and they come up with all these great ideas, but you go back to the shop and most ideas or new initiatives have a cost associated with it, some downside risk, so it may not be well received.
Right.
So we would lose that opportunity to impact your business, but also the local environment by strengthening, businesses. Yeah. So we have a workaround if you're not an owner, but we will ask and want to see that you are integrally involved in the decision making.
No, and I like that because I remember when I applied, you guys wanted to see the tax returns. You wanted to see that I was actually an owner because you never want to be in a group, like you said, that, within the classroom setting, it's like, hoorah, yeah, Jerry, go back and, go try to go implement this. And then my boss said no, or dad said no, or something like that. Because it's so I totally get it. So as we wrap up here, I just wanted to just again thank everyone for joining this podcast, and if you're or video cast, and if you're catching the replay, this is exclusively for business owners that are trying to grow their business. My understanding, Maurice, is that so far 526 companies have graduated from specifically the Miami-Dade campus, and that's created about 10,000 jobs in South Florida. And so this is a video within the Miami business leaders. So if you have not joined us yet, we just put a link below where you can join our Facebook group, where we are targeting business owners, executives, leaders in the community, where once you join, you're going to just see how fun it is, how we have leads being referred to each other. We have people putting, comments about business and advice and tips and all things like that. So definitely join the Miami Business Leaders Group. And Maurice, I wanted to ask you, so how can they apply? How can people reach you if they have more questions about this?
And thank you for teeing that up for me, Reggie. I think, and I'm not sure to what degree they can see the information that I put in the chat.
Yes, I have it here.
Contact information, but let me give you some short pointers. Obviously, we have a web page on the Miami-Dade College website. Okay, so if you go to the Miami-Dade College website and you type the number 10,000 in the search field, it will bring up options for our page. And from our page, you can find out more about the program. You can apply directly from one of those pages. And we're currently accepting applications for our class that will begin in January. It has not yet been determined if it will be virtual or in person, but trust we will, make the safe decision for your participation. But time is of the essence, okay? We're really on the last few days here of application acceptance, okay? The initial application takes about 20 minutes, if that. We're just gonna ask, how many employees do you have? What's your name, address, and telephone number? When did you start your business? What were your revenues last year? Why would you like to be in this program? What types of products and services do you sell? That's the first part of the application. From there, everyone who meets or exceeds the criteria, we invite you to a secondary application process. So you'll be invited to an interview, and in the interim, we'll be confirming your data, okay, that you supply to us. So I would encourage anyone, if you are at all interested in our program, you're interested in taking your business to the next level, and you feel like you're out of your own ideas, please apply. The initial application only takes 20 minutes, and then we will engage you for more information. But if you miss this window now, you would then have to wait for consideration for our program that is going to begin in May. Okay, so I like to think you can start off 2021. I'm sure some people have already proclaimed that 2021 is going to be their year. So you can start it off with 10,000 small businesses. So as I said, you can go to our website. I put my information there. Click on that, select Miami, and it's a quick one-page, answer a few questions, and you're done. And then we'll be following up with you.
Yeah, and once you graduate, I think we were the special cohort, because when we did our graduation, again, Goldman Sachs first class Gold Bar, we did our graduation at the Freedom Tower. We had the CEO of Goldman Sachs at the time, Lloyd Blankfield. He was there. Marco Rubio was there. Carlos Jimenez was there. I mean, like, this is a serious thing. This is like your unofficial mini MBA degree. I remember bringing my parents and some family members, and it was a real graduation. I got my degree here proudly in the back in my email signature. I still have, the 10K SV logo on there. And just when you think it's done, it's not. because I can tell you, and I can tell you countless people that not even in my cohort that I met, because there's alumni, and I would like for you to talk about the alumni, but through the alumni networking events, I met two of my competitors, Kevin Michaels and Ivan from Primo.
Okay.
And we then, because of that alumni, because of that, quote unquote brotherhood, if you want to call it that, we came from the same tribe. We now get together. We now talk about IT. We now put ideas. Hey, how's this working for you? Have you tried this software? All because of that, what you would have thought as fierce competitors, because we all went through this program. We all, understand that we're in this together. We're trying to build our business together, and there's enough competition for all of us. I can call any of them right now and say, hey, what are you doing for this? And they're going to tell me, no problem.
Okay.
So talk about the alumni program and everything that comes with that.
Yeah. And I'll ask a question. How many people out there would like to have a Rolodex that has 10,000 names in it? But that's essentially what happens when you graduate from our program and you're invited to the Alumni Network. We have an app. I'm sure you've been using or been on the app, Reggie, that captures all of the graduates of this program nationally. So in addition to the camaraderie and collaborative benefits that you get here locally, you can also communicate with business owners throughout the country. The Alumni Network has an interactive map. So if you find yourself in Chicago or Philadelphia, you can actually see physical locations of other businesses that have gone through the program. But on a normal basis, it's not uncommon for a business owner in another part of the country to just post a question to the general audience because they're seeking some help. So it really becomes a powerful tool in terms of, like I said, I talked about Babson College earlier and the amount of research that they've done around entrepreneurship. But one of the core pillars, they said there are essentially three things that help businesses to grow. One is knowledge, okay, best practices, are you doing things right? And two is a support network, okay, of peers and advisors. And then the other is capital. But going back to the support, most business owners that come into this program acknowledge that they've been working in a silo, that they go to work and they go home. They go to work and go home. And they may be a part of a few networking groups or something like that, but not to the point where I think, as Reggie just explained, that he can call someone for very detailed, not just kind of networking loosely, but really turn to people who can help you work through issues in your business. Okay, so that's one of the benefits of this program is, like I said, you become a part of that vast network. We commonly host events here locally under normal circumstances for our alumni, kind of continuing education, alumni clinics. I'm sure Reggie's been a part of some of those as well. So we seek to have a robust engagement and continuing engagement with our alumni.
Yeah, absolutely. And even with some of our cohorts, I've been to their baby showers. When I have my networking events, they come out to support me. We had Sandra when she had her grand opening, people went there. So it doesn't end with that graduation. You never see them again. Every day I get newsletters from Goldman Sachs and about different things that's happening. So it's definitely a great program. So Maurice, I want to thank you so much for joining us. And I know that this was so beneficial to everyone listening. And if you're catching the replay, check the comments below. You're going to see all the information of how to reach Maurice, how to apply, questions and answers on their website. And just want to say a big thank you to everyone watching right now. Again, the link for the Miami Business Leaders is below. So if you're catching this on the replay and you are not part of the Miami Business Leaders group, it is a lot of exciting things happening. We have interviews like this, where we have local people, that programs you may have not known about, things you may not have known about, learning opportunities. It's all there in the Miami Business Leaders group. So thank you so much, Maurice.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good day, everyone.
And please apply.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
All right, bye.